So the chrism is the manna from heaven that's mentioned in the scriptures. Raising Christ is an analogy for raising chrism. Your body is the temple. Your mind, when it is in peace, is the city of peace. Israel is your heart. It is the two opposing fields that come together as one. And everything is about your body and your mind. The goal is to become self-actualized, because when you are in a state of self-actualization, the I am that I am state, I am that I am, okay? When you're in that state of consciousness, you're free of the duality mind, which is the tree of knowledge of good and evil. And therefore, you are in a perfectly balanced state. And you allow yourself to remain in a state of love. What is love? It's an actual resonance. It's harmonic resonance versus dissonance of anger and hatred and all these negative things. So the oils come from your pineal and pituitary. They come down, cross over from the skull, which is Golgotha, the place of the skull, down your spine. There are 2 channels. Go down your spine and back up again. As the fluids go down, it's crossing over these 7 chakras or churches that they call them in Revelations. As they move through each one of your energy centers, the chakras, you have to preserve them. You cannot corrupt them in anger or fear. You know, fear is what causes our lust and our craving. And in the Buddhist tradition, of course, we're told that craving is the cause of suffering. So it is that very state of craving that causes fear, and fear is dissonance, and that is what corrupts the fluids, which are crystalline. And if you've seen the work by Dr. Emoto, you know that anger, fear, hatred, things like that, words that are negative and phrases like that, or the energy of that, those emotions, cause water crystals to become corrupted. And words that are like love, loving words, peace, harmony, they preserve the crystalline structure of the water crystals. The Christ is the symmetry. So as the fluids go down your spine and come back up again, it takes 2.5 days. The moon is in your sun sign at this time for you as an individual. Everybody is unique, just like your menstrual cycle. It's the same type of thing. So as the oils come down in the sexual center, by the time they get down to the sexual center, if you release them in sexual lust, you're literally losing your life fluid, your life force, because that life force is being contributed to creating another life. That's the sacrifice. That's the blood sacrifice, when you're sacrificing in order to create another human being. So the Roman Catholic Church took this ancient sacred teaching of the chrism and turned it into idol worship and made the Christ a man on an actual cross that dies and is sacrificed so that you can sin. Because lust is a sin. And therefore, when you have an orgasm, it is a sin because you are losing your chrism. And they are playing on that so that people continue to lust in the material world instead of, because what does a holy man do, or a holy woman, a nun, a priest? They're celibate, right? They refrain from orgasm to raise their chrism so they become a saint. That's what it's all about. To have sex and have a child is considered a sacrifice that we make, so another human comes into the world. It is the blood sacrifice. But if you, as an individual, want to ascend out of the material plane, you refrain from those things so that you can raise your chrism in this lifetime and raise your consciousness so that you can be absolutely whole and complete as a human being with your abilities intact. Because we all have abilities to use our third eye for remote viewing, for possibly teleporting, things like that, to, most importantly, go without food. That's what this is. It's manna from heaven. So when you raise the chrism back up again into the brain, circulate it back to the brain, it becomes your sustenance, your manna. And you do this over long periods of time to where you start storing it up and start charging yourself. That's where the whole halo thing comes from. And holy men, holy women, that sort of thing. So you have 7 chakras, which are the 7 churches of Revelations, and they're talking about your sexual lust, your greed, your gluttony, your sloth in the heart center, vengeance, jealousy, and pride. These are your 7 energy centers that are corrupted when you are in a state of fear or lust. As a practitioner of this, someone who's considered a disciple of Christ, you would be someone who does not drink alcohol, who does not eat meat, someone who tries to keep their body purified, mind and body discipline. This is why Yeshua said, "Do as I do, Christ is within you." And this teacher, Yeshua, was not the first teacher. Obviously, there were many masters doing this, but there was an entity that took over, some source that took over and wanted to stamp out this teaching completely. And in order to do that, they had to trick the masses and make them still believe in their religion, but incorporate this Antichrist version of this teaching into every single religion. They corrupted every religion so that nobody knew how to actually be a self-actualized human with your abilities intact and to become angelic beings again the way we were meant to be. That is the true meaning of raising Christ. That is the true meaning of ascension or rapture. Rapture is not even a word in the Bible. So when the scriptures talk about the evil that takes over the world, that's what they're talking about. Anyone that's a control freak is going to establish a social construct that is filled with deception. And that's exactly what happened. As someone who is a deceiver, wouldn't you naturally gravitate towards institutions like religious institutions and government and corporations, because those are the ones that are in power and they dictate to the masses what they want them to do. So you've got the church and corporations and government telling you to do things that we should not be doing. So they're using politics to keep people pitted against one another. And they use the far left agenda and the far right agenda. The far left is saying do whatever you want to do. The far right is saying support these corporations. They're the ones that are actually telling everybody what to do. And support your church. They're telling everybody what to do. The truth is that your balance is in the middle. It's not far left or far right. You have to find balance in the middle. Isn't that what Christ is? Balance in the middle? The bottom line here is that they don't want you to be self-actualized. Self-actualization means you understand that you have a reptilian brain function that tries to keep you in trouble constantly, even though it's supposed to be there to protect keep your human body alive, but it's also manipulative, and it wants to manipulate other people, and it wants to take everything that it wants. Your higher mind is your Father in heaven, the consciousness field that we can tap into. And that's why Yeshua said, you are one with the kingdom, and the kingdom is within you, and Christ is within you. Go into your room and shut the door and speak to the Father directly. Do not go to the church, and don't worry about priests and cardinals and the whole church system, because they can't do anything for you. You have a direct connection with the Father. This is the most dangerous information anyone can talk about. Start fasting. Get Celtic salt. Get some basic staples for yourself so that you can begin to fast and start doing without all of the stuff that you think you need, or what they tell you that you need, because we don't need anything except our Father in heaven. I was never religious because I knew religions were corrupted, and then I had to find the proper context of the scriptures to understand the true meaning of them.